City Council meeting of the City of Highland Park, April 24th, 2024. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ross. Present. Councilmember Hubler. Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Here. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Mayor Ruttering.
Here, we have a quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held April 10th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone. Aye. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Ruttering.
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. The warrant list is approved. Continuing now to the report of the mayor. This week, Jewish families in Highland Park and around the world mark the beginning of Passover, a holiday that celebrates freedom, while more than 100 hostages in Gaza mark their 200th day in captivity. Celebrating seems incongruous when so many, including Highland Park families, continue to fear for their loved ones, mourn their loss or absence, and condemn the rapid rise of anti-Semitism, hatred, and bigotry. As we have now for over 200 days, we continue to hold them all in our hearts. We have no appointments this evening. We do have several proclamations this evening. The first being International Compost Awareness Week. I'd like to invite Councilwoman Stone to introduce the proclamation recognizing International Compost Awareness Week.
Thank you, Mayor. The first week of May is International Compost Awareness Week. This international effort is the largest and most comprehensive worldwide education initiative to raise public awareness of the benefits of composting materials such as food scraps and yard waste. In Highland Park, we are almost 1 year into our community-wide curbside composting pickup program. All single-family residential customers can put food scraps and yard waste into the yellow lidded compost cart, which is picked up weekly with trash and recycling. This keeps food waste out of our landfills where it would emit methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas, and instead turns it into compost, a rich soil amendment. More information about the program, including what is compostable, is available at cityhpil.com/compost.
I will now read the proclamation. Excuse me. Whereas organic materials make up approximately 30% of the material going to landfills, and these organic materials emit methane, a potent greenhouse gas, when they go to landfills. And whereas organic residual materials, including yard trimmings, vegetable cuttings, biosolids, and food scraps, can be composted and converted into a beneficial product known as compost. And whereas returning organic resources remanufactured into compost to the soil serves as a carbon bank, helping to store carbon, thereby removing it from the atmosphere. And whereas compost increases soil resilience to the effects of climate change, such as drought and extreme weather. And whereas composting is becoming one of the primary methods that communities use to reach waste diversion goals and create sustainable communities. And whereas composting creates green jobs and infrastructure for cities and states that implement composting programs. And whereas International Compost Awareness Week is a public education initiative to showcase compost production and demonstrate compost use. And whereas the theme for 2024 is Compost, Nature's Climate Champion. This theme highlights the role compost plays in fighting climate change. This includes decreasing methane, helping with climate change mitigation, reducing fertilizer inputs, and increasing soil resilience. Using compost helps to create healthier soil and help the environment. Now therefore, I, Nancy Rotary, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council of the City of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5 through 11, 2024 as Compost Awareness Week in the City of Highland Park, and urge all members of our community to compost. We encourage everyone to explore ways to make the most of our all-in curbside composting program by visiting cityhpil.com/compost. I'm giving this to you.
I'll put it with my Dark Skies proclamation.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to invite Councilmember Andres Tapia to introduce the proclamation recognizing Bike Month. I will give you a script so you can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We're excited to celebrate Bike Month this year. The city's website includes multiple self-directed opportunities to opt outside and explore on bikes this year. The family-friendly bike tour through the Highlands neighborhood is a great way for families to enjoy biking together. Visit cityhpil.com/family bike to view the route and plan your ride. Other stuck pages here. Other features are going through architecturally significant districts, and you can find this under /biking tours. Mark your calendars. The Historic Preservation Commission's guided bike tours returns on May 18th and June 1, beginning at noon on both dates. The roughly 5-mile tour will begin at Moraine Park on Sheridan Road and head south toward the historic Bell Avenue and Vine, Linden, Maple historic districts. Bike participants will enjoy free beach access from Moraine Park, courtesy of the Park District of Highland Park. The information and route map will be posted at cityhp.com/HPC. I encourage everyone to make the most of Bike Month by enjoying these and other cycling activities during this month of May.
I will now read the proclamation. Whereas the month of May has been celebrated for over 65 years as National Bike Month, promoted by the League of American Bicyclists and celebrated in communities from coast to coast. And whereas millions of Americans engage in bicycling because it's an environmentally favorable form of transportation, as well as an excellent form of recreation and physical activity. And whereas the bicycle offers a clean, quiet, affordable, and healthy alternative to automobile commuting. And whereas Highland Park's road and trail system attracts bicyclists each year, providing economic health, transportation, tourism, and scenic benefits. And whereas creating a bicycling-friendly community has been shown to improve individual health, well-being, and quality of life, growing the economy, attracting tourism dollars, improving traffic safety, supporting student learning outcomes, and reducing pollution, congestion, and wear and tear on our streets and roads. And whereas the City Council adopted the Highland Park Complete Streets Policy on December 11th, 2023, which sets forth the goal of creating a safe, sustainable, attractive, and utilitarian multimodal network of streets that balances the needs of all users. And whereas the City of Highland Park is promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce collisions, injuries, and fatalities, and to improve health and safety for everyone on the road. Now therefore, I, Nancy Rodering, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council do hereby declare May 2024 as Highland Park Bike Month and encourage all residents to use the bicycle safely for transportation and recreation. The city's Move HP plan encourages cycling through policy initiatives, infrastructure investment, and community programming. This approach is supported by the efforts of numerous city projects, the transportation and sustainability advisory groups, and organizations throughout Highland Park. It's our pleasure to welcome to the podium Elliot Rawson and Brent Ross from the Bike Walk Advisory Group, which began as part of the Transportation Advisory Group. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Brent couldn't make it tonight, so I'm on. It's great to see such interest in Bike Month here, so thank you all for coming here. I'm just going to share a few comments. Thank you, Mayor Rodering, City Council, City staff. It's nice to have this recognized every year, and I'm really honored to be able to receive this on behalf of the community and Bike Walk Highland Park, which is a community-based organization supporting cycling and walking in the community. Highland Park continues to be certified as a bike-friendly community at the bronze level through the League of American Bicyclists. We are one of only 15 communities in Illinois that has this certification. However, even though we put a lot of focus on cycling, last year we had our first cyclist death in over 10 years. And unfortunately, cyclists and pedestrian fatalities has been rising for over the last decade. Our Complete Streets policy, which was mentioned here, is really important in making sure that Highland Park is an even better and safer place for pedestrians and cyclists of all ages and types. We look forward to strengthening the partnership between the city and the knowledgeable residents that make up Bike Walk Highland Park. Through closer collaboration earlier in the planning and design process, we can deliver better solutions and results for the community at a lower cost to taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elliot, I have this for you. Thank you so much. Appreciate I would now like to invite Councilmember Ross to introduce the proclamation honoring Historic Preservation Month.
Thank you, Mayor. The city's first historic preservation plan, which was approved in 2023, serves as a framework for the city and the Historic Preservation Commission to implement a series of goals and objectives that will educate residents, protect the city's rich historic fabric, and further enhance the historic preservation program. During Historic Preservation Month, we are delighted to celebrate the dedicated work of the Historic Preservation Commission and city staff to encourage, enhance, and celebrate the preservation of Highland Park's historic character.
Thank you, Councilmember Ross. I'll now read the proclamation. Excuse me. Whereas historic preservation provides continuity with the past, protects valuable architectural resources, invests in neighborhoods, fosters local pride, and teaches future generations about local history and architecture. And whereas in 1982, Highland Park was the first Illinois community to submit a multiple resource nomination to the National Register for its historic properties. On August 8, 1983, Highland Park City Council adopted the city's first historic preservation ordinance. And whereas in October 1985, Highland Park was among the first communities in the state to be designated a certified local government with the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office. And in 1988, Highland Park conducted its first preservation award ceremony. And whereas in November 2022, the City Council adopted the city's first preservation plan, setting forth the city's vision and goals related to preserving the city's architectural and historic resources. And whereas in 2024, Highland Park celebrates the 41st anniversary of its historic preservation program and its preservation efforts, including its 77 local landmarks, its 3 historic districts, and its 5 National Register districts, while encouraging community partnership, local development, and distinctive, attractive places. And whereas important contributions in the fields of architecture, landscape architecture, and local and American history are found in Highland Park. And whereas the rehabilitation of historic buildings is a wise investment that supports local architects, craftsmen, and builders, suppliers, and community businesses, contributes overall to the city's financial strength. And whereas through historic preservation, we see that the greenest building is the one already built, and that the preservation of our built environment saves critical resources and sustains our natural environment. And whereas appreciation for our physical past inspires future expectations and enhances our quality of life. And whereas stewardship of our historic built environment, its natural setting, and the meaning and memory of our community is a shared responsibility for all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. Now therefore I, Nancy Rotary, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Highland Park to join in recognizing and participating in this special observance. We are handing this to Kim Stone. Okay, thank you. To Yumi, thank you.
I will give it to the HPC.
Perfect, thank you. And I would now like to invite Councilmember Littleworth to introduce the proclamation honoring Jewish American Heritage Month.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we are proud to recognize May as Jewish American Heritage Month. This annual celebration is an opportunity to highlight the ways in which America's Jewish communities have shaped and been shaped by the cultural, social, and economic fabric of the United States. Since May of 2006, this effort has been led by the Weizmann Museum of American Jewish History, the country's only national institution dedicated to exploring and interpreting the American Jewish experience, supported by more than 200 organizations nationwide. American Jewish history dates to 1654, and understanding and celebrating our Jewish American heritage is critical to building a welcoming and inclusive community. But to also back and agree with the mayor, it's particularly poignant that we honor the American Jewish community tonight after a weekend of anti-Semitism on college campuses like Columbia and Yale that left hundreds arrested and many Jewish students nationwide in fear.
Thank you, Councilmember Littleworth. I'll now read the proclamation. Whereas in 1654, a small ship carrying 23 Jewish refugees sailed into the port of present-day New York City. Fleeing oppression and discrimination, these courageous men and women faced resistance from the colony's leaders. Nevertheless, they secured the right to remain and became the first Jewish communal presence to settle on American soil. In so doing, they expanded the frontier of religious freedoms that would help define the bedrock principles upon which this nation was built. And whereas during Jewish American Heritage Month, we honor these 23 refugees and the centuries of successive Generations of Jewish Americans who, shaped by their own encounters with prejudice, persecution, and the promise of a better tomorrow, have emboldened our nation to stand up for justice, equality, and freedom. And whereas the story of America was written, in part, by Jewish Americans who, through their words and actions, embraced the opportunity and responsibility of citizenship, knowing full well that democracy is not born nor sustained by accident. Throughout our country's history, Jewish Americans have proudly served our nation in uniform, in elected office, and on our nation's highest courts. They've made enormous contributions to America's cultural, scientific, artistic, and intellectual life, and they have marched, petitioned, and boarded buses to demand civil and political rights for all, from women's rights to voting rights to workers' rights. And whereas 370 years after those 23 brave Jewish refugees arrived in America, Jewish Americans continue to help our country thrive and prosper. This month, we honor the timeless traditions, heritage, and contributions of Jewish Americans that drive our progress as a nation each and every day. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Rotary, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council of the City of Highland Park, do hereby declare May 2024 as Jewish American Heritage Month, and I encourage all residents to learn more. The Highland Park Public Library will have pre-selected books, films, and music materials available for patrons of all ages. Librarians will also help guide patrons who seek information and resources to explore and discover the rich, long history and contributions of Jewish Americans, including free access to in-library use of Ancestry.com to learn about and understand their genealogy. Jewish American History Month is one of many efforts that contribute to confronting anti-Semitism and defending the core American value of democracy. The Anti-Defamation League reported a 140% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in 2023, reaching the highest level recorded since ADL began tracking this data in 1979. It's more important than ever that we stand in support of Jewish communities and oppose all acts of anti-Semitism and hate. We're honored to welcome Rebecca Rose from combatantisemitism.org to accept the proclamation. Rebecca, are you here? Rebecca is here, maybe in spirit. So we will thank her for her work and continue on with our evening's agenda. Thank you. Under other business, through the City of Highland Park Student Commissioner Program, outstanding Highland Park High School juniors and seniors volunteer their time on behalf of our community. To serve, students must complete an application explaining their interest in the program and the city's various boards and commissions, share any coursework or activities that are relevant to their selections, and write about their future goals. Tonight, it is our pleasure to thank and congratulate the class of 2024 student commissioners. These graduating seniors have volunteered their time and provided their unique perspective to help shape conversations and policy recommendations. These students are our future leaders, and we're so proud to support them in their journey. We invite those students who were able to join us this evening to stand when their names are called. We are pleased to recognize the following, and I'll name the commission and the student. Cultural Arts Commission, Emma Pasternak. Stay standing, just to really embarrass you. Historic Preservation, Ella Jacobs. Housing, Anastasia Bichkevskaya. Human Relations, Maya Gandelman. Plan and Design, Jackson Roberts. Sustainability, William White. Transportation, Connor Edelstein. Zoning Board of Appeals, Davis Briscoe Juarez. Please join me in thanking these students. And I have certificates for each of you. Did we want the students to come up and we'll take a photo? Thank you. So if all of you could come up, we'll truly embarrass you. And hi. We're going to miss you. Hang on, we're slow. Okay. Awesome, thank you. And I'll just share with you, we have third graders who come through every spring, and we do we do 2 mock city council meetings. And I say to them, now remember this, in 8 years, when you're 100 years old, come join us on a city commission, and they are. And so now we have the pride of so many of our students who have now gone on, frankly, to get involved in policy work and government. We'll take full credit for it, but it's wonderful to celebrate our students. And if you need to go and do homework, students, you are free to go, but if you want to stick around, you're welcome to join us as well. We just are delighted and, again, share our deepest appreciation to each of you. A few more items from the mayor, and then we will get on to the rest of our scheduled business. April 21st to 27th is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Annually, this initiative of the Department of Justice Office of Victims of Crime encourages individuals and communities to shine a light on the experiences of crime victims and the ripple effects of crime in communities across the country. The 2024 theme asks all of us, friends, family members, neighbors, colleagues, community leaders, victim service providers, criminal justice practitioners, and health professionals, how we can help crime victims. Information and resources are available at ovcojp.gov/ no one's going to remember this, but we'll put it online, NCVRW 2024. The city's Resiliency Division is dedicated to providing support services to individuals impacted by the Highland Park mass shooting. The Resiliency Division provides short-term counseling, connection to community resources, community events, and assistance in navigating victims' compensation to all who were impacted by the Highland Park shooting. The Resiliency Division has planned a special community event in honor of National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Join us this Saturday, April 27th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Heller Nature Center to learn more about resources that are available to assist community members in need. Guests will also enjoy fun activities, mini ponies, comfort dogs, and more. And the event is free and open to all ages. Continuing on with our agenda, under business from the council, at this time, I'd like to invite Councilmember Tapia to share a report on behalf of Moraine Township as he serves as the council liaison to the township. Councilmember Tapia.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to present this report. There is more socioeconomic diversity in Highland Park and environs than most people realize. And Moraine Township serves approximately 12 square miles. It includes most of Highland Park, all of Highwood, and parts of Lake Forest and Deerfield. It is governed by a board consisting of 4 trustees. The township supervisor, Ann Flanagan Bassey, serves as the township supervisor, and the township clerk is Gail Brown, and the township assessor is Mark Lindsay. What have they accomplished in this past 12 months? Through volunteers and a small working staff, they've done the following. They process applications for emergency rent, utility, medical, and other assistance, totaling almost $34,000 in direct assistance. In addition, they've helped 356 residents access services from other governmental units, such as SNAP, low-income heat, electric assistance programs, Social Security Disability, Mother's Trust, Salvation Army, and other resources. There were over 7,700 pantry resident visits. The food pantry also delivered bi-weekly on a year-round basis to shut-in residents. Staff and volunteers helped over 500 individuals with health insurance assistance, including the ACA, federal marketplace, Medicaid applications, senior prescription drug enrollment, and DHS follow-up. Staff also provided 3,000 door-to-door rides for seniors and disabled residents to access medical care, and the township is testing now a pilot transportation service to provide Moraine Township residents with door-to-door transportation to run errands on Thursdays. The township also provided summer utility assistance to 23 senior households who do not live in buildings with a cooling center. Moraine Township also has a very active and important Latino advisory committee made up of mostly Latino community leaders who lead various social service agencies and are in leadership capacity in a number of local governmental organizations. They have been strategic advisors not only to Moraine Township, but also to other governmental agencies, as well as to local-facing organizations such as the Rainier Festival and the Chicago Botanic Gardens. Just this past weekend, they organized and held the first ever Community Resources Fair, Feria de los Recursos Comunitarios, which have nearly 30 local organizations represented to network with and educate the Latino community about the many resources available to help address a variety of needs and provide family time enriching opportunities. Moraine Township also responded to cemetery requests and burials for our 2 township cemeteries, processed passports, helped residents apply for RTA discount cards, and provided free rotary copying and faxing help, dispensed temporary disability placards to qualified residents, registered voters, and also provided tax assistance services, tax preparation assistance services. Moraine Township will be awarded a Highland Park Historic Preservation Award on May 2nd to recognize the 3-year restoration work at historic Daggett Cemetery and major landscaping. For all these services, the township is grateful to the volunteer support by the community volunteers who provided 5,200 hours to help residents during this time. The township thanks our caring community, and so does the city council, for helping make the lives of residents in need of additional resources to make just a little easier.
Thank you, Councilmember Tapia, and we are grateful to Moraine Township for the many services they provide to the community. I now want to invite Councilmember Stone, who serves as the council liaison to the Transportation Advisory Group, to provide an update.
Thank you. The Transportation Advisory Group is composed of 7 volunteer members and a high school representative. Councilmember Ross is the alternate liaison, and Jessica Hector Sue is the current chair. Manny Gomez from the city's Public Works Department is the staff liaison. The advisory group provides recommendations related to the planning and implementation of transportation plans, such as Move HP, and recommendations from Bike Walk Highland Park. They also provide advisory recommendations for multimodal, vehicular, and pedestrian transportation and parking conditions, projects, education, and communications through the city. Prior to council approval last December, the advisory group provided feedback on the city's Complete Streets policy. The Complete Streets policy utilizes Bike Walk HP 2030 and Move HP, which was previously reviewed by the Transportation Advisory Group in 2019. The advisory group has also provided feedback for other projects, such as recommending locations for new bike repair stations to be installed by the city along the McClory Trail. The advisory group reviewed and provided feedback on the location of a multi-use path along Park Avenue West, which is in the Move HP plan, and it calls for extending the existing path along the north side of Park Avenue West from the Highland Park Senior Center at 1201 Park Avenue to Midlothian Avenue. The advisory group meets quarterly, and the next meeting will be held on Wednesday, June 19th at 6 p.m. Further information is on the city website. On a related topic, this Saturday, April 27th, there will be an electric vehicle show and the city's Arbor Day celebration from 9 to 11 at Ravinia Festival's West parking lot.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Stone. Now I'd like to invite City Manager Newkirk to provide the staff report.
Excuse me, isn't there additional business from the council?
Is there additional business from the council?
We
I
just had those
wasn't
2
aware of that.
reports planned.
Yeah.
On what?
If you want to entertain comments from the council.
I'm
it's up
happy
to
to
you.
have additional business from the council. I wasn't aware, nobody gave me any kind of a heads up that there was additional business from the council. Is there?
Usually we just ask, so I assume that there's additional business.
There is additional business from the council? Let me know.
Thank you. I think there's additional business from the council.
So,
So, Councilmember Tapia, absolutely.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to, I still feel unresolved with the situation that we're still facing that brings a lot of people here. So I do have a comment that I want to read. I'm not going to use my time now to repeat the various and compelling arguments our residents, Highland Park restaurant owners, and the Illinois Restaurant Association have already shared and will likely share tonight. I do stand by my previous statements and my belief in what it needs to happen and what is not working. But instead, I want to talk about leadership accountability for the care and nurture of our community. To be a representative of the people is a privilege with a set of responsibilities that often tug at each other for prioritization. We are, of course, responsible for the foundational work of running our city based on our 5 priority pillars of public safety, infrastructure, fiscal stability, environmental sustainability, and economic development. Yet there are also the intangibles we are responsible for as leaders. In my corporate day job at a global leadership and organizational culture consultancy, one of our truisms in this work is that culture, defined as a climate of the organization that gives the place a feel for what it's like to work there, ultimately is a manifestation of the quality and effectiveness of the ones in charge. It's easy to blame bad apples or middle managers or the competition or societal forces when there's painful friction and discord within an organization. And of course, these issues must be addressed vigorously and skillfully on their own merits. But who holds the power? Who manages the agenda? Who makes the ultimate decisions around priorities? It's the leadership team. And as I've been learning in my past 3 years as a city council member, that certain truisms of the corporate organizations are also true in government organizations. The impact of leadership on culture is one of them. In our case, it's our community's culture. In cultures where the level of disagreement and discord moves beyond the normal hum of human differences of opinion and moves to anger, frustration, feeling distraught, depression, and outrage, then the first order of business is to listen to these feelings and thoughts and then to address what is afflicting the community. The onus on leadership is not to say that everyone else is off the hook for doing their part in nurturing a healthy, inclusive, welcoming environment. But it's the leaders who must set the tone and role model the desired behaviors. The cultural impact is what organizational psychologists call the shadow of the leader. The influence of the shadow cast can either be uplifting and healthy, or toxic or lifeless. Right now, the shadow of our leadership is not serving our community culture and therefore our residents well. While I feel good and proud of the many decisions we have been making collectively as a city council on behalf of the city, strategically and transactionally in the past year, our inability to resolve what is admittedly a set of paradoxes in the case of the liquor license ordinance and the direct impact on one of our members on the city council, I do not feel that we have risen to the challenge of the moment. This moment requires Solomonic wisdom to open up possibilities and not unwavering legalism that limits them. It requires empathy and imagination to find a way out. With all due respect to the lawyers in the room, the legal profession's paradigm of win-lose, which has been the dominant paradigm throughout this discourse, is not always the only way to navigate paradox. We must also have in our toolkit win-win approaches. What could be the win-win toolkit for the benefit of our community? Based on conversations with the mayor and others who oppose rescinding this ordinance, I understand that they have two key objectives. One is the appearance of impropriety in changing policy for a sitting council member, and the other is that the law is the law. I'd like to take these concerns on. In the case of appearance of impropriety, the situation affects a fellow sitting council member's ability to serve the people as he was elected to serve. How is that possibly going to be interpreted as favoritism, especially when there are no friendships in the mix? In fact, let's flip where the appearance of impropriety could materialize. This council member was not supported in the last election by those currently refusing to rescind the ordinance. Therefore, the refusal of these three members on the city council to address this issue by using a mechanism already offered by the state is what could lead to the appearance of impropriety they are trying to avoid by not doing anything. The danger here is not about falling into the ditch of favoritism, but rather the danger is falling into the ditch of seeming punitive. And then in terms of the law is the law, while the mayor can factually say that no one is being removed from office, the catch-22 that Councilmember Hubler has been placed in without offering a way out is equivalent to his being removed from office. Most of us know the story of King Solomon and the two mothers who were in dispute over who was the rightful mother of the surviving child. We know from the story that what King Solomon indeed did when he was faced with a decision about how to deliver justice where conventional laws were insufficient to resolve the dispute in ways that would benefit all stakeholders. Yes, there are times when the law alone is not enough to guide us to the best answer. Our community is hurting, and we in City Council are the ones with the shadow of our leadership, are the only ones with the power to offer the balm our city needs. And I respectfully offer these comments tonight.
Respectfully ask that we not applaud and whistle and cheer and give a standing ovation, or we'll probably be here till tomorrow. Councilmember Littleworth.
Thank you, Mayor.
We couldn't hear you.
Well, that's on you. Go ahead.
People were clapping in the back.
I literally said, excuse me, I literally said, if you keep clapping, whistling, and giving standing ovations, we will be here until tomorrow. So please contain yourselves so we can have our meeting. Thank you. Councilmember Lidward?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. This job as council member is very important. I've been surprised at how enjoyable it is to have an impact, however slight, on our town. When the issue of amending the liquor ordinance came up to allow liquor license holders to serve on the council, it seemed simple. Old, outdated, purposeless law. Change it, just as some towns in the state of Illinois had. 2-sentence amendment, an hour research and legal fees, discuss it, and move on. Mistakes were made by both the liquor commissioner and the council members, so take the opportunity to correct them for the greater public good. There were issues raised by fellow council members doing something for one of our own or favoritism, and what if the liquor holder has a conflict of interest? Research was done on conflicts, and historical ethics protocols were reviewed and discussed in the Committee of the Whole. Since the February vote, we took the time to pause for 2 months to fully and transparently vet the public policy issues. And even the community got involved, researching legal theories, the legislative history, serving FOIAs to determine how conflicts were addressed, researching with the Illinois State Librarian and historians, reaching out to the State Liquor Commission and writing hundreds of emails. And I thank the members of the public for taking the initiative, because you saved the taxpayers a lot of dollars, frankly. And what we learned over the 2-month time of research and assessment since this last vote is that there is no compelling interest to keep this law. Any conflict of interest can be remedied and cured by recusal of the council member holding the liquor license. And this practice is backed up by the law and by our own practice on this council. So tonight, it is incomprehensible that after 2 months of work, and even when finding no compelling interest to keep the current law as is, we are refusing to change the law by accepting a simple amendment. But what makes this incomprehensibility a travesty is that by not changing the law, you are overriding the compelling interest of suppressing the thousands of voices of the citizens of this town who voted for Jeff Hubler and made him the top vote getter by a wide margin. He didn't sneak into this office, he worked for it. He's not a career politician or a longtime elected official. He is younger than everyone sitting up here on this dais. He owns a small business in town, and he has a liquor license. He wore this mantle proudly, and that is why the citizens voted for him. Tonight, I call you citizens with a capital C, not residents or community members or peers, because Jeff Hubler was duly and democratically elected, and our votes are being thrown out. Jeff is forced to resign or lose his livelihood. Your vote is a fundamental right, and there are other business people who are not able to seek local public office because of our actions. So in addition to the research that was done, this council acted, and we expanded the potential number of liquor license holders in this community at the last meeting. Think about that. We expanded the business opportunities in Highland Park while contracting the number of citizens who can hold public office in Highland Park. We may amend the liquor ordinance down the line because it's the right thing to do via vote or a referendum. But your vote for Jeff Hubler is being ignored. And the only conclusion is that personal views of members of this council may have taken away his right to serve. This is a fundamental right in America, and frankly, much bigger than the projects and policies we frequently decide on this city council. What's worse is that the willingness to debate on the merits and the ugliness we've seen elsewhere in this country has seeped into the Highland Park City Council, and that feels really disturbing and upsetting to me. So other than Councilmember Tapia, none of my colleagues would enable us to have the opportunity to revisit this vote, but tonight, before Jeff's resignation goes into effect. None wanted to consider voting in light of the answers to questions asked at the last council meeting regarding the liquor ordinance's legislative history and our own ethics protocols of recusal in the face of conflicts, nor to hear what else you, as citizens, might offer, which might change their minds. So we no longer have the option to vote and correct this wrong before Jeff leaves office. I responded to your emails and phone calls and still asked you to come tonight and to speak. And I did so because it is your fundamental right to be heard civilly, and I ask you to speak with civility. But if your vote has been ignored, your voices should not be muffled too. I thank you for your work, your passion, your support in this matter. And if I've brought it up too often, as I was recently advised some may feel, it's because I believe in protecting your fundamental rights and your voice wholly and completely. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the staff report, just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, we have 6 items on the Omnibus agenda. All are recommended for approval and have corresponding staff reports. Just want to draw one item to your attention. Number 1 in the packet relates to a proposed agreement with Claremont Family Associates. This agreement provides for the opportunity for the city to install a controller, basically an electric cabinet, on an easement that belongs to the private property owner. In addition, it allows them to continue to have a refuse dumpster for one of the tenants on the public property. And again, the controller is not only for the electric cabinet to serve the parking lot, but also for 2nd Street as well. So that is recommended for approval. Also, in the course of discussion for this proposed agreement, Claremont Family Associates did request that the city review a 1989 easement agreement between the property owner and the city. So that's not subject to the agreement that's on the consideration this evening, but we did indicate that we would revisit that as well as an annual fee payment. So just want to bring that to your attention, and hopefully you're comfortable with that next steps of just looking at it for consideration.
Anything else that you would like to state about tonight's meeting?
If you like, I can, will you have information that you're going to present under business from the public, and then I can elaborate if you like? Okay.
Sounds good. Okay,
Perfect.
thank you. Our next item is business from the public. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the city council on a topic that is within the council's purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you would like to speak about a matter that's listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called, and we will give you an opportunity to speak then. If your matter is on the Omnibus consent agenda, please let us know if you'd like us to pull that matter from the consolidated list so that you can speak about it. Please be aware that business from the public is not intended to be a forum for open dialogue or engagement with members of the City Council. Rather, it's intended as an opportunity to make comments to the council. Please do not expect a response from anyone tonight. If appropriate, we might direct the city manager or other city staff to respond to questions or issues raised at a later date. All comments should be directed to us, the City Council. Thank you all for lining up. I appreciate it. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We request that the public not applaud or make other comments after any speaker. We ask that everybody be respectful, civil, and non-repetitive. As we provided for in our new rules adopted this past January, and due to the large number of people that we see want to make a public comment, we will be dedicating 30 minutes for business from the public at this time. We will then complete our regular agenda items, and then we will come back to business from the public. I assure you, we will stay here as long as it takes for everybody who wants to speak. Does the council have any objection to following that process? Okay. Thank you for your patience, given the number of business items that are scheduled this evening. And with that, we will begin our first 30 minutes.
Mayor, if
Yeah,
I could just elaborate?
go ahead.
A couple things, great, thank you. Just in addition to the mayor's comments, just want to bring to everyone's attention, we do have a number of different overflow rooms, and there are people watching the council proceedings. So this is the council chambers. We call this chambers the council chambers. We have occupancy of about 100 people in this room. The room directly across adjacent is the pre-session conference room. So the meeting is being live streamed in that room. And then we have the lower level conference room where we do have some individuals there as well, also watching the proceedings. And then the additional overflow room is at the library and their auditorium. So there is no one there currently, but the meeting is being live streamed at that location. We would just ask if there's anyone interested in addressing the council under business from the public, if you could just find a staff person, and we have staff representatives in all of these rooms, bring it to their attention that you're interested in speaking. We're asking everyone to complete a public comment card so we have your name spelled correctly and we know that you're interested in speaking. And then everyone will certainly have an opportunity, and as the mayor indicated, just like everyone has done, and we'll have people line up. If we're at maximum capacity in this room, we would respectfully ask if people could go to one of the overflow rooms just to give other people also a chance to speak. So we would ask that, and we will be monitoring the occupancy of all of these rooms. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And if you could please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Levi Kane. Ready? Okay. Tonight, as we stand at a crossroads, the essence of our community spirit and the integrity of local governance are brought into the spotlight. In contemplating the current situation surrounding Hubler and the impending amendment to our liquor law, a question emerges, one that every public servant must ask themselves. Are we truly serving the community or merely advancing a higher purpose for ourselves? Nancy, your tenure has not been without merit, but recent developments bring us to question the alignment of your actions with the community's needs. It appears that the long-standing relationship with the music festival and the ongoing controversy suggests a prioritization of certain interests over the public good. Moreover, the fact that nobody even contested your position in the last election is not a testament to unanimous approval, but rather indicates a communal resignation to the status quo, a status quo that is no longer acceptable. On April 10th, you asserted that there were a handful of emails and phone calls supporting the retention of this law, yet a diligent review of nearly 600 pages of emails obtained through FOIA from January 1 to April 15th reveals there's only one person, only one, this sticky note, only one. That means you lied into the record to the entire city. What else are you lying about, Nancy? I even reached out to you personally, hoping to understand the rationale behind your stance, to engage in a dialogue that might illuminate your perspectives and help bridge our divides. Yet the offer to meet, even in the company of Councilmembers Stone and Bloomberg, was met with silence. A silence that speaks volumes to your character. As we deliberate the future of our city and the principles for what we stand for, let us remember that it is not merely about one law, one council seat, one man or woman. It is about ensuring that Highland Park remains a community where business can thrive without undue restraint, where governance is conducted with integrity, and where truth and transparency flourish, not lies and deceit. I don't take pleasure in standing here today. Like many of my fellow citizens, I would prefer to trust in my elected officials and attend to my daily life. Yet here we are, here not out of desire for conflict, but from a steadfast commitment to what makes Highland Park truly strong, not through strong arming, but through strength of character and community. I'll say this once. Either you call a meeting to vote on this within 24 hours, or you can start looking for new jobs. Because I assure you, I will return, time and time again. Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Hi, my name is Lucas Hubler. Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, I stand before you today not just as a concerned student and citizen of Highland Park, but as the son of Jeff Hubler, a man who has dedicated and sacrificed his time and effort into serving our community. My father's commitment to this city is undeniable, yet you are about to cast him aside because of a law that dates back to the Prohibition era. Let's be clear, this law was created in a very different time, for very different reasons. To apply it now, without considering the context, is not just unjust, it's absurd. It begs the question, are there ulterior motives at play here? My father is a respected member of this council who has always acted with integrity and love for his community. But beyond personal impact, let's talk about the broader issue at hand. By enforcing this outdated law, you're not only removing my father from the council, you are sending a message that you value bureaucracy over progress, that you prioritize archaic regulations over the well-being of your constituents. You have the power to change this. You can call a special meeting in 24 hours to amend this law and ensure that my father and others like him are not unjustly removed from their positions. I urge you to do the right thing, not just for my father, but the sake of justice and progress in this city. Thank you.
Hi, Jonathan Yarrick. The Ravinia District was one of the key selling points for my wife and I when we chose to move here a few years ago. And sitting at Ravinia Brewing, having a beer and a nice meal while my daughter watches the trains go by, well, that's a core memory for me. Now, I don't know much about Jeff Hubler or his politics. I can't even remember if I voted for him last time or not. But I do know that I like having a brew pub down the street, and I know that a lot of my fellow residents would agree with that. As I've watched the deliberations over the past few months about Hubler specifically and the liquor license law more generally, I've really found myself asking one overriding question, which is why? Why won't they change this? Why won't you do anything about it? Time and again, we've seen residents, along with council members Tapia and Littler, make comments and reasonable arguments for the amending of the particular statute in question. And time and again, we've seen those comments go unanswered, and we've seen no action be taken by what can only be described as an anti-Hubler bloc on this council. So, council members Stone, Bloomberg, and Mayor Rodering, if through your stubborn refusal to act, you're going to force one of your own colleagues to fall on his sword, there should be at least some reasoning behind it. Unfortunately, the only one who's even attempted to defend his position is Councilmember Bloomberg, who, in doing so, managed to absurdly compare Jeff Hubler to George Santos. He also defended the antiquated nature of the statute by saying, quote, "The Constitution of the United States is antiquated." In fact, sir, the Constitution is quite a bit older than this statute, but it's prevented from becoming truly antiquated by the very process that should be under discussion tonight, which is amendment. A previous public comment even suggested that you make some kind of statement explaining the purpose of this law, or even why you choose to support it in the face of overwhelming public opposition, and yet nothing has been forthcoming. In fact, the best summary of your points that I've ever heard just came from Councilmember Tapia. 2 weeks ago, Councilmember Bloomberg even repeated again that there must be some purpose to the law, but he just doesn't know what it is. Well, let me tell you what I know. I know that without a reasoned argument in support of your position, it looks like you're simply executing a personal vendetta against Jeff Hubler. Now, you can deny that ad nauseum, but your stubbornness on this issue, coupled with the complete inability of anyone in your camp to make a compelling or even vaguely rational argument as to why Jeff Hubler or anyone with a liquor license serving on this council is an actual problem, would seem to prove otherwise. It's not a good look. I also know that as long as that situation persists, you can be very sure of one thing. The people of this community who have near unanimously supported the amending of this statute, we have all suddenly found ourselves in a situation where come election day, we will remember the names Stone, Bloomberg, and Rodering. At the end of the day, I personally don't need to die on the hill of Jeff Hubler serving on this council or not. I'm just confused as to why the three of you are choosing to let your political careers die on this hill. The choice should be clear, so let's amend the law. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Susie Wilhelmsen, and I'm here this evening to speak in regards to the situation at hand. I'm not only an HP parent, a resident, a neighbor, as well as a friend of Jeff. I've owned my home in the Ravinia area for 24 years. I can't believe I'm even here to speak on the subject. I have, I've looked at you all, and I consider you all honorable council members. Jeff Hubler also earned a seat with you when the residents of Highland Park cast their votes for him, and they did so more so than any other candidate. I'm here today to remind you that you have an obligation as honorable council members to honor your constituents' voices. The residents of Highland Park came out in significant numbers last year in support of Jeff, and as witnessed this evening prior to this meeting, the community continues to stand behind him. As a former council candidate myself, I know firsthand the work that goes into gathering support, and one key course of this is knowing your community, understanding the parents in the HP schools, the students, members of our various neighborhoods, and also our business owners. As a business owner himself, Jeff earned this support with ease. Knowing his business involvement was one of the many reasons residents voted for Jeff. Now, I recently brought my business from Schaumburg to Highland Park on Central Street. We just relocated. And the reasons why many of you live in Highland Park, and the reasons why a business like mine has decided to relocate its headquarters to the Highland Park area, is because it is a great community made up of great and honorable people. Now, after having been voted into his honorable role, after raising his hand, willing to serve, which is hard enough as it is, to serve our community, to be at this meeting tonight where this honorable council might actually dishonor our community's voices after having sworn in Jeff Hubler, not only, based on an archaic rule that no longer applies to our time, is beyond comprehension. I implore you to all remember that our community voted for Jeff just as they voted for you. He earned his place with you, and we demand that you please honor our voices. Is that it?
Yep, thank you.
Hi, I'm Susie Well, Highland Park resident. I'm calling on you tonight to immediately vote to convene a special meeting either within 48 hours or no later than April 29th to amend section 119-320. We the people are demanding this, and we're counting on you to do the right thing. What you three are doing to Jeff Hubler, his beautiful family, and by extension, the 2,200 Highland Park residents who voted for him, is shameful, disgusting, and a stain on this community. Shame on the three of you. You know, I'm not surprised it's the three of you, because you voted twice to implement the only vaccine mandate targeting restaurants outside of Cook County, which crushed our restaurants. I saw it firsthand. I canvassed all of them. You know, conversely, let's talk about a community about a mile north of here. You guys have heard of Highwood? So in Highwood, they embrace liquor license holders on city council. I actually thought it was a requirement. It's not. Eric Fahlberg, you guys may know him, wonderful guy, owner of 28 Mile Restaurant and Distillery. He is a huge asset to the Highwood City Council. And I called a Highwood alderman to talk about this. So I'm talking about something I know a little bit about. He recuses himself. You've heard of recusal, right? He recuses himself from any decision involving liquor licensing issues. However, the most important thing, Eric Fahlberg is there as a sounding board, a valuable sounding board when there's any legislative decisions involving restaurants for his fellow council members. And what a vibrant, incredible, successful community they have. You know, that's a great way to build up business, by having an inclusive city council. How I wish we had an inclusive city council in Highland Park. You know, if we did, maybe we'd have a really vibrant restaurant community. Something to think about, isn't it? You know, totally fine, and I commend the three of you for committing political suicide, and I'm glad you did. But don't bring this beautiful community and Jeff Hubler's beautiful family and a wonderful man. Don't you dare bring him down with you. And we will be here. We're not going away. We're here to stay. 3 of you aren't, but we are. Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Faye Rosenberg, a resident and business owner in Highland Park. Thank you. And happy Passover to those who celebrate. It is clear that you have once again passed over an issue you've had before you since February and probably earlier. It has not been put up for discussion and vote again. Why is the first of my 4 questions, something my family and many others ask on Passover. Why, since February, have you sought not to study, research, form committees for exploration, and utilize the resources you would in the normal course of possibly amending the liquor code as you voted to do on April 10th? A slap in the face of the voters and lack of decency towards your fellow Councilman Hubler. Why? Why, my second of 4 questions, have you decided to immunize yourselves against the will of the people who voted you in, live in, and deeply care about this community? Your social media posts for the community speak of regularly meeting with businesses in an effort to foster a partnership to create a vibrant Highland Park. I quote, "Most importantly, representatives from the city listened intently to our restaurateurs' input on how the city can best support their businesses. There was a letter from the Illinois Restaurant Association and signed by almost 400 Highland Park restaurant owners and businesses urging you to amend this law to better serve those very same interests you claim to intently care about. This has been entered into your record. Why, my third of the 4 questions, has the research sent to you regarding the Illinois Liquor Code and the original intent of this law, as noted by the member of the Illinois Liquor Commission and sent on to you, ignored? Why? And lastly, my 4th question, why did you become members of the City Council? Do you believe in the vote which sent you here and in equal representation by your constituents? Do you care about their interests and the best interests of this city? Or was this just a matter of gaining power and control? Self-interests or the Highland Park community interests? Neutrality and decency? Or personal animus and disrespect? Hundreds and hundreds of emails, hours of testimony before you, and you have come forth with nothing remotely resembling a compelling interest to cling to this outdated, irrelevant law, as so many other jurisdictions have voted to do. What kind of bubble must you be in to be so removed from the true barometer of distrust and frustration with you in this town? What legal precepts and moral compass do you live by to serve your community? Finally, we ask ourselves, why is this night different from any other night? Unfortunately, it isn't. Shame on you, Mr. Bloomberg, Ms. Stone, and Mayor Rodering.
My name's Richard Rosenberg, and I'm a resident, used to be a business owner in this town, but I'm now relegated to stock boy. Mayor Rodering, I'm going to say something very controversial. I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're a decent person. I think that you've dug yourself a hole, okay? And unfortunately, you're going to have to do an about-face to dig your way out of it, but everybody will applaud that, so there's an upside to it. We have all heard speculation about personal animus. And the reason that people think there's personal animus is because there is no other reason for your position than personal animus. Now, if that's not the case, let's overcome that and let's change the law. I've spoke to the Illinois Liquor Commission. We'll talk about that in a moment. Councilwoman Yumi Ross, you owe your seat to Jeff Hubler. He dragged you across the finish line. Let's not, oh yes, he did. Let's not forget that, okay? acutely aware of the campaign, and that's something you should remember. I'm not asking you to do something dishonorable. I'm asking you to do the honorable thing. Councilwoman Stone, your fealty to the mayor is obvious, but you need to express yourself a little bit. Attorney Bloomberg, we both know that there is no judge on the 22nd floor which would not grant this motion to amend. We're both keenly aware of that. I'm sure you understand the reference. Now, I spoke to the Illinois Liquor Commission, and I supplied everybody on the council here with the contact information for the attorney there that I spoke with in case you wanted to verify any of this on your own. And they said that and by the way, the person I spoke to, I had absolutely no knowledge of before my cold telephone call. There is a reason for the law, okay, which Councilperson Bloomberg was asking about at the conclusion of the last meeting. There is a reason for it. And the reason for it is that the state legislature feared that an applicant for a liquor license may be prejudiced in his efforts to obtain a license if one of the persons having governmental authority to vote on granting it or not also had a liquor license or a liquor establishment in town. In other words, would you deny the person the license because it would affect his business? They have an answer for this, though. It's part of the statute. It's called recusal. The person on the council would recuse himself from voting on the applicant's liquor license. There's no other legitimate reason in this circumstance not to change the law. You have to take care of that. We are all Highland Park here. You are, we are. Let's do it and let's move on. In a couple of years, if you make the right decision, everybody's going to forget about this.
Thank
Let's
you.
make some progress.
Thank you.
Michael Ross, I've been here for 37 years, built my own home here. Mayor Rotering and council members, I'm very surprised that you keep avoiding the issue of Jeff Hubler's fair vote as councilman in the last city council elections. I understand the archaic law that you, Mayor, Councilman Bloomberg, and Councilman Stone are citing as to have Councilman Hubler step down. This is an archaic law put forth during Prohibition. However, this law could be easily amended so that Councilman Hubler could recuse himself from liquor license or anything having to do with liquor decisions in Highland Park. You can also easily get rid of the Highland Park law and adopt the Illinois law, which would allow Councilman Hubler to recuse himself. According to election night reporting, Jeff Hubler received more votes, 2,780, than any other council candidate. 297 votes more than Councilman Bloomberg. Jeff Hubler had 21.61% of the council vote that day. You are disenfranchising 2,780 votes, 21.61% of the voters in this election. We live together in a small town, and I never thought that in the state of Illinois, my vote would be suppressed. I thought this mostly happens in red conservative states, not in a progressive small town in Illinois. There were mistakes made on all sides of this issue, and it shows what an unknown law this is. My vote and those of 2,779 other individuals that voted for Jeff Hubler are no mistake. 2,780 of us say that you are wrong unless you have 2,781 votes or complaints that say you're right. I urge you to amend the law or adopt the Illinois law so Councilman Hubler can recuse himself from liquor decisions and stay on board. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's how you rectify them that counts, and in the end, that's what matters. What does the council gain by eliminating Councilman Hubler? The community voted for him and would regard this as a big loss and will remember your actions, good or bad. We do not want our votes suppressed.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Doms, citizen Highland Park. And I'm demanding that you hold a special meeting within 48 hours or before April 30th to resolve this. It's a simple fix. Some politicians like to take listening tours. I'm not a politician, but I like listening tours. As a door-to-door salesman many years, I like saying hi to folks. And I want to compliment you, Mayor, for the job you did after July 4th, bringing people together, okay? I owe you that. But now I'm going to compliment you again. For dividing the people of Highland Park. Go from one to another, really. I walked around town, I walked neighborhoods, armed with a flyer, a newspaper article, and I went up to people, introduced myself, and I wanted to listen to what they had to say. In doing so, well, right now, Jeff Hubler's popularity is sky high, more than when he was on the campaign trail. And that's thanks to you, Mayor. Thanks to you. And here's the thing, too. Many people I met and listened to voted for you, but their sympathies are now with Jeff Hubler. And they question you. They don't want to give you their vote again. I'm talking to a lot of different people. Some don't pay much attention, some do. But you know there's a simple fix to all this. I ran into some high school kids. I said, hey, look at this. Tell me what you think. Oh, the mayor's a bully. I said, a bully? You got to be kidding me. Why do you say that? In school, they got the anti-bullying campaign going and all this anti-hate stuff. They recognize what you did. It's out of the old political playbook, and they recognize a bully when they see him. Like, okay, a divider and a bully. A senior citizen, a woman. I listened to her. She saw this flyer, and she goes, oh, they! I go, oh, my gosh, you know, almost scared me. She says, yeah, it's all political with Nancy. It's not whether she hates a guy, likes a guy, whatever. It has nothing to do with that. What it is Nancy, she's scared. She's afraid, threatened by anyone that has slightest new idea or views by anyone that's contrary to her own. I only got through half my stuff, but thank you for your time. God bless you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, distinguished council people. I'd like a show of hands. How many people live on the north end of Highland Park besides me?
Please state your name for the record. Thanks.
How many again? I'm a precinct committee person in the Highlands. And I don't know if you know, but I hear every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the blaring noise from the bars in Highwood. Keeps you up till 1 in the morning, doesn't it? Well, it does me. And I know that there's a lot of passion here for Jeff Hubler, and I'm sorry to say, I actually made phone calls to get him elected. And the reason why I feel this way is because I feel I was duped. I think it was incumbent on him to know what the rules and the regulations were before he decided to run for city council. He knew in advance and ran anyway, and here we are. He's at your mercy to let him stay. I haven't heard a business plan. I am a business owner. There's no 6-month plan, 1-year plan, how he intends to bring business other than a bar to Highland Park. You can go to Highwood for that. You don't need Highland Park for that. Yeah. And I'm sorry that I have to be the one to stand up here and say this. I would have thought that other people would have done their homework as well as I did.
Be polite, let her speak. You don't need to be mean to each other.
You know, I was respectful of everyone that was up here. I didn't boo, I didn't snicker, I didn't make comments. And I would appreciate you doing the same for me. And I'm sorry, Annette, but I don't agree with you, and I don't agree with you either, Andre. And I think my voice needed to be heard today. I never come to these meetings, but everybody seems to be coming from the south end of town, and you're insular. You don't know what's happening on the north end of town. You really don't. And I implore you to keep the statute the way it is, because it's a slippery slope. Once you start making allowances for one business, what's not to say somebody else comes along and says, well, you changed the laws for Jeff Hubler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm short, so I have to adjust this. Height challenged, I should say. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak again. At a time when the world seems consumed by ignorance, hatred, and violence, our local community should be a place of civility and mutual respect. Mayor Rotering, you've done a phenomenal job of giving voice to concerns that touch us very deeply to the core, and we appreciate that. And the last thing we want to do is to appear before you to talk about a local liquor licensing law. But here we are, and I thought it might be useful to explain some context about why the concerns exist and why we're here. As you know, Jeff Hubler ran for the City Council, promising to bring fresh ideas and an independent voice to City Hall. A central feature of his campaign was his business experience as the owner of a restaurant with a liquor license. Mayor Rotering, it's a matter of public record that you took the unusual step of endorsing every candidate other than Jeff Hubler. There were 5 candidates for 3 slots, and you endorsed the other 4. Nevertheless, Jeff won, and he garnered more votes than any other candidate, including 3-term incumbent Councilmember Blumberg. Jeff seems to have served with distinction. He's worked hard, he's reached out, he's contributed ideas, and he shows up. And then just a few weeks ago, someone noticed a Prohibition-era ordinance tucked away in the municipal code saying that the city cannot issue or renew a liquor license held by a sitting council member. And bingo, now there's a perfect pretext for getting rid of the new guy, make him resign or lose his business. But it's not that easy, because when we elected Jeff Hubler, we were fully informed that he owns a restaurant with a liquor license. And this is a very important point. The voters of Highland Park knowingly elected a council member with a liquor license. And the unmistakable message of the election is that the voters of Highland Park do not think a liquor license is an impediment to ethical or effective council service. Please forgive me for being blunt, but with all due respect, we are capable of reviewing a candidate's background and deciding for ourselves whether any business interest at all may help or interfere with the ability to serve. It is unacceptable for you to effectively take away our ability to make that decision. The current zombie ordinance needs to be amended out of the municipal code because it is terrible public policy. It brazenly negates the wishes of the voters who made it crystal clear that they want someone with a liquor license to be able to represent them on the council. It represents an extreme, undemocratic, and insulting approach to governance. I cannot imagine anyone at City Hall enforcing other zombie ordinances, the old laws that set speed limits for horses, prohibit speaking loudly in public places, or ban consensual snowball fights. Section 119.320 would be just as comical, except that it's being used to get rid of an elected council member.
Thank you.
Would anyone like
Excuse me, Mayor. We are at the 30-minute mark right now, so consistent,
Okay.
if I could just finish.
We're coming back to business from the public. This isn't the end.
So if I could just
This
finish.
is literally just us taking, whoops, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So consistent with our procedures, which were approved in January this year, I would suggest 5 more minutes of public comment if the mayor and the council are so inclined. Then I'm recommending that we proceed to omnibus agenda as well as the one item under other business. And then, again, as you indicated, Mayor, at the start of the meeting, we are certainly here to stay for as long as people have business to present from the public. And I would just ask in all the overflow rooms, if individuals could just make sure that the staff liaison in that room has a comment card if people are interested in speaking, just so we know how many people are interested.
So, okay.
I defer to the mayor and council.
Why don't you go first? You go ahead. Yeah.
Well, as long as we can all get a chance to speak, that's really the goal here. And first of all, thank you. My name is Mark Bina. I do live in the insular south side of Highland Park. First of all, thank you all for your service. I know it's hard to be in local government, and I do appreciate all your time. And I do appreciate everyone being here tonight and speaking. I think this is why we live in a great country. This is the First Amendment at its finest, to be able to be heard. But I'm here tonight. I don't know Jeff Hoopler. I've never met the guy, but I voted for him. And I'm very concerned that I've got my 2 middle schoolers here tonight looking at an empty chair. And it's puzzling to be able to explain that to a 7th grader and an 8th grader. It's difficult to explain that to an adult, an attorney, a non-attorney, anyone. It's frankly a little nonsensical when you think about how this came to be. So I'm here to register my disappointment. I appreciate, I appreciate the comments earlier from Mr. Tapia. I thought that was a fantastic and well-positioned argument. I incorporate that and also your comments as well. I agree with those. I think what we need to do is take another look. I think we are backed into a wall here a little bit. I voted for Hoopler because I liked his message. I think the city can do better. I know it can do better, but we need Jeff Hoopler on this city council. I'm particularly upset because my vote, my wife's vote, and I think many people in Highland Park's vote, has been disenfranchised. That's a big word, but that seat is empty, despite the fact that a lot of people in this town have voted for an elected representative. That's problematic. Now, I did listen earlier because I was bored and I was looking through the agenda and I noticed there were some interesting things in there. I heard earlier there was a meeting, the committee of the whole, about potential ethics movements that the city council is doing. I think that's great. I applaud that. We should create an Office of Inspector General. We should create a level of ethics review, enforcement, investigation, and the like, because we need to figure out what happened here. Who said what to whom, when? Was a city computer used? Was a city phone used? How did we get to this point? For those that support Jeff Hoopler and are willing to repeal this law, I say thank you. For those of you who do not, I ask you to please reconsider your position. Listen to the will of the people. Listen to the mandate of the people that are here before you. Elections matter. Our votes matter. Repeal this law. Thank you.
My name is Betty Holloman. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the chance to speak. I am a citizen of the United States. I'm a citizen of Illinois, and I am a resident here in Highland Park. And I am honored that I have the ability and the honor of being able to vote in this country. And I expect my vote to be counted and honored. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Athena Hubler, and I am the wife of Jeff Hubler. And I stand before you and speak from my heart. As a resident of Highland Park, I extend my gratitude for your time and commitment to our city. That being said, while I am grateful for the recent actions of council members Littlewer and Tapia, I am saddened and disappointed by the actions of the rest of you. My husband has been treated in ways that are counter to our community principles of integrity and kindness, and the actions to oust him are undemocratic. Jeff was rightfully elected to serve as a council member as the largest vote getter in the last election, despite being the only candidate not endorsed by the mayor. And yet now this council is set to uphold a Prohibition-era ordinance that serves no public policy to force Jeff out. People knew he had a liquor license when he was elected to serve as a candidate for change. Some of you have gossiped about him and spread untrue lies. He has falsely been accused of unethical behavior. On public record, he has been compared to an expelled congressman who faces multiple federal charges. As public officials, you have a duty to hold the public trust and remain transparent to us. The decision on how to vote on matters regarding our city behind closed doors does not reflect these duties. After the February 12th meeting, it was clear your statements were scripted and orchestrated. The residents of Highland Park have been vocal in their support of Jeff. The council has heard from many people advocating for an amendment and supporting Jeff remain on the council, from speeches and 300+ emails in written, clear, and unwavering support. The overwhelming support of the community is to amend the ordinance, and the voice of the people seems to have reached deaf ears and reflects a position of stagnation and against positive change. Your legacy as the leaders of Highland Park will now reflect the reversal of the election of a duly elected council member to appoint one of your own. You claim that you did not make him resign or revoke his license, but you knew what the consequences would be if the amendment did not pass. Which brings about the question, was it you or one of your agents that made the complaint to the State Liquor Commission? And finally, I highlight the lack of accountability. No one knew of the ordinance at the time of Jeff's election, not even the city manager or the lawyer, yet only one person, Jeff Hubler, is being held accountable. The three of you that serve on the Liquor Commission and approve the license are not only ducking your accountability, but you are also the three who voted against the amendment, making Jeff the scapegoat. This is incredibly wrong. Jeff is a good man and an asset to his community who wants to help our city. His business experience could help revitalize our business districts, which have deteriorated significantly in the past 12 years. Ironically, now his business and an outdated ordinance that has failed to be amended by you is what has forced him to resign. The actions to force him out rather than amend an outdated ordinance make no sense and is counter to the will of the community. You all asked for more time after the February 12th meeting. There have been members in our community who have even done the research for you, and you have also been given many opportunities to consider a revote, but only 2 of you, Tapia and Littlewer, have requested further discussion on the ordinance, and the other 4 of you have blocked it. Therefore, a revote cannot be taken to correct your wrongs, and Jeff's resignation will take effect April 30th. I am looking forward to April, where we can hold your actions accountable.
Thank you.
We can hold you accountable for your actions.
Okay, we will come back to business from the public following our scheduled business. Items 1 through 6 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration, and I am seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 6.
So moved.
Second, Mayor, may I just commend staff for a moment?
Sure.
I would just like to say that I'd like to say that our community group and staff have been tremendous on the berms and all the research that they've done. And I think they've really listened actually to the public and taken it a step further in a very proactive way. So before I vote yes on this, I just wanted to call that out and thank especially Joel Fontaine for his work on this issue.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on items 1 through 6? Any comments or questions on items 1 through 6 from the public? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 6 ayes, no nays. Items 1 through 6 have been approved. Item 7 is a resolution accepting the guaranteed maximum price proposal presented by Leopardo Companies Incorporated for the Senior Center renovation project.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Included in the packet is a detailed staff report. We are recommending approval of this action item, and I do want to introduce the team of Halliburton Root as well as Leopardo who are here this evening if you have any questions. Just very briefly, as the council certainly is well aware, we started a needs assessment for senior center services in 2017. So happy to announce that we are in the plans of renovation of the senior center property this year, and we are looking forward to your approval of this contract so that renovation could be underway with anticipated completion by the end of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on item 7?
I do have a question, and
Go
that
ahead.
is that we are spending more than we had originally budgeted. I sat through a presentation of the architects. I thought it was a completely justifiable and beautiful presentation, but I do want to ensure that monies for this are budgeted and coming from various sources, not from one pot or anything like that, in order to make it up.
Yes, that's correct. As you certainly know, we are going to continue to monitor and manage all of our finances on a regular basis. We are planning to use funding from a variety of different sources, carry over from 2023. We are looking at different accounts, operations as well as capital, and then we will continue to assess as we get further in the year. We will be presenting a budget amendment to the city council, so you'll see exactly where the funds are going to be drawn, and we'll certainly keep the council apprised as well.
Thank you very much.
And do you have an estimated date of completion or thereabouts, year?
Well, we're estimating September, right? Aaron?
I believe it's September 6th for the upstairs and October 4th. I might have the 6th and the 4th flipped, but for the lower level, early October, and the upper level, early September.
Fantastic. Councilmember Ross?
Thank you, Mayor. And as the city manager knows and the mayor knows, I have a couple of concerns with the plans, including circulation regarding the elevator and also the design of the east entrance, the porte cochere. Yeah.
Yes.
And I've already expressed that, and you've offered the opportunity to meet with the architect and hopefully get some resolution.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I will look at your calendar after this
Thank
meeting,
you.
and we'll schedule it, and certainly they're prepared as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second on item 7. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. Item 7 is approved. We will now return to business from the public. Thank you all for the time to take care of our scheduled business this evening.
Okay, hi, I'm Alan Warnoff. I'm a fairly new resident to Highland Park in the, I guess, southern district, which I didn't know was a thing compared to the northern district, so.
It's not.
I am new to the area, but lived in a similar community in eastern Pennsylvania for the last, 28 years. In my line of work, problems come up every day, and I am certain that each of you on the council see problems way more than the majority of us. One of the ways we try to tackle problems at work, however, is to listen to each other, to be thoughtful about it, and to try to make informed, smart decisions with the constituencies in our head. I am new to this controversy about City Council Member Hubler, but it strikes me that that law, as the rule of hand nearly 100 years, or I guess 90 years after it was incorporated in the state, is a false narrative in which you should weigh all future decisions. And I do encourage each of you to get your heads together, make the smart decision for what's best in our community. And how do we know what's best in our community? Certainly we trust you, that's what you're elected for, but we also look at the numbers of people who vote. And It wasn't a one vote or two vote victory, it was a large percentage vote. He's committed to the area, he's invested in the area, he's stepped up to leadership, and I encourage all of you to be wise in how you create the outcome of this and choose the best decision for Highland Park going forward. And just to show some of the silliness of old laws, there was a law, according to an online state law silliness. A state law in Illinois mandates that all bachelors should be called master, not Mr., when addressed by their female counterparts. I highly doubt that anyone in the city council is going to follow that law to the nth degree. And if you choose to follow the law about the Prohibition era alcohol license, I would view you to be akin to following laws like that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, could,
Yes.
I would like to say something.
I think
May
we're still hearing from the
Oh, I'm sorry.
public at
Yes,
this
we are.
point, and if anybody
Yes,
from
we are.
any of the overflow rooms would like to share their public comments, I urge you to please come into the council chambers and line up as it appears to be approaching the end of public comment. Hello.
Hello, council. My name is Josh Weiner. I'm a resident of South Highland Park.
We're not starting.
My parents are residents in the Highlands, and I've spent many nights in their home, and I've never heard loud noise from Highwood, so I don't know if that's really matters for this debate, though. So I really do urge this council to consider holding a special meeting to reconsider this municipal code. It seems to me that there is an outdated law in these books that I've spoken with a lot of people in this community about, that if there seems to be some sort of way that impropriety could be perceived, most people aren't seeing it that way. What I do see, though, is that thousands of people voted for Councilman Hubler, and what seems to be happening is that there are individuals on this council who are undermining the will of the people of Highland Park. And one of the most important parts of our system, our democracy, is our elections and the integrity of those elections. And the minute that you take away 2,000 votes or whatever the exact number was, and each one of those votes is very important, you are undermining our democracy in this city. So again, I urge you to reconsider, call a special meeting, and enable the person that the people voted to sit on this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I'm Ashby Beasley. I just want to say, I don't really want to get into all of the details of this. I just want you guys to all look around at each other. You guys are all neighbors. Your neighbors, when your kid is sick, you guys pick up the slack. When someone isn't well, you guys help out your neighbors. And what's happening here is not neighborly. This lady did not feel comfortable walking out of here because you guys booed at her, because she was the one person who stood up here and didn't agree with all of you. We are better than this, okay? And I get it that people are upset, and I get it that people are frustrated, and I get that people don't agree, but we have to come together and be at least willing to listen to each other talk without taunting and yelling and treating each other the way. Because when this is all over, if they don't vote the way you guys want, we still have to live in this community together. And it's gonna be really uncomfortable because a lot of things have been said to each other and unkind things, and people have not been nice to each other. So to you guys, what I wanna say to you guys is I don't necessarily agree that we know what the will of the people is. I don't, because I've talked to people who feel one way, people who feel another way, and quite frankly, a big reason why a lot of people don't come out with an opposite opinion is because what happened here, because they don't feel comfortable. So what I would like to see, if it's possible, is a binding referendum so we can know exactly how this community feels. So everyone can put their vote in and we can all decide together. I do think it's a little unfair for everyone to pump their fist and say, the people voted for Jeff, but then they want to demand 6 people in the community to make the decision. I think it should go back to the community, and that we as a community should make a decision on this matter. And that I would ask that you guys, if you don't decide to vote on this today, and that doesn't happen, that you would consider agreeing to a binding referendum or a binding ballot initiative, whatever it's called here, and that you would listen to how people vote on this matter, and then we can just settle it. I know for a fact that if it doesn't work out today, if they don't vote on it, and we have to do something like vote on it as a ballot initiative, I'm sure that Jeff will run again, and I'm sure he will win. This is not forever. This is not going to be like this forever. But for now, we have to come together as a community. We have, the day after one of those meetings, we had Black parents in this community go to the school board and talk about their children experiencing racism in our schools. We have to come together as a community. I would love to see this energy standing next to those parents instead of us fighting over this. So I hope that you guys will consider doing a binding, referendum or whatever it's called, and listen to the people, truly, give everyone an opportunity to weigh in so we can resolve this, if this can't be resolved, in the really near future.
Great, thank
That's
you.
all I have to say.
Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Come up, please, and if you're in any of the overflow rooms and you would like to share your public comments, I'm going to urge you to please come to the council chamber now. Hello.
Hi, I'm Keith Medansky. I live on Drive in Highland Park. I have 3 points to make arising out of the discussion today in the last meeting. The first is not all prohibition laws, period laws, are bad. In the, I think it was the 18th Amendment was passed in 1917 by Congress. And just the next year, Congress passed the 19th Amendment. And if not mistaken, that's the reason there are 3 women on the city council. So that's a prohibition law, and it's a good law. And so to dismiss it, as so many of my neighbors are, merely because of its age, is out of bounds. The second thing is, we've kind of, I think, distorted the burdens here. Folks have turned this into a, well, why shouldn't we change the law? Into, why should we? And the question is, why should we change this law? Not, why shouldn't we change this law? I'm troubled by the, well, no one seems to have a good reason here for the law the way it is. Well, there was a reason for the law at the time it was passed, whatever that reason was, and I heard some discussion about that today. And that is the law as we sit here today. And to change it, you need a pretty good reason and an expressed will of the people and a discussion, and not doing it in the context of a city council situation where you have already a sitting council member. And the third point, and probably the most important, and I'm glad I followed the young woman who spoke right before me about being neighbors. The level of anger expressed toward 3 city council members on the city council, as if they have some sort of nefarious purpose, some sort of, and someone just whispered they do. There's no basis for that. There's no basis for it, and that's a terrible accusation. It is okay for people to have legitimate beliefs that we all disagree with. And it is out of bounds, it is wrong to simply dismiss the views of our neighbors who are on this council and are elected, who are acting in what they believe in their conscience and is correct under the law and how they believe. So I urge you all to take this into consideration.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard?
I'm Chris Walker. I'm Jeff's business partner at Ravinia Brewing. I had 100 different versions of things that I was thinking about saying today, and I think a lot of anger's already, come out. The end of the day, I sympathize with every one of you guys on the panel right now. It's a hard position to be in. I know that I would not want to be in your shoes. And I was thinking about like, what do I say? How can I get my views across and get you guys to hear me and hear what everyone's trying to say without the anger and the emotion? Because that's not, listen, the thing I agree with, a couple of you said, like, we need to be neighbors and we need to come together as a community. And you guys, I think Andres said it well, like, you guys need to lead by example. And, and I think that the frustration for me and what you're hearing from a lot of the folks in this room is that we don't feel heard. We feel like that at the end of the day, like there's something that if we ask 100 people in the room about, hey, does this, under this situation, where we have this prohibition era law that was built for Al Capone, to prevent him from obtaining a liquor license when they were the worth of gold and the most valuable thing in the world. And, is that okay that when now liquor licenses are kind of like getting a dog license, like that it holds the same weight? And, and I think 99 out of those 100 people are going to say, no, it's not. And that's why you saw the state overturn it. That's why you saw these other communities overturn it. That's why we haven't even thought about raising this as an issue for cannabis dispensaries or real estate developers and, candidly, other industries that are potentially have a much bigger burden of potential risk through, collusion and corruption. When you have, the issue we're talking about at hand, effectively, you've got a letter from the Illinois Restaurant Association saying, you guys should do this. You should make this change because we need representation. And you've got that signed by all of the restaurants here to say, hey, you should do this. And that's, I think, the frustration for everyone, guys. It's like, I at the end of the day, this is the right thing to do. And I know there's been a lot of emotion, and you guys may know my daughter. Her name's Ella. She's a brilliant person, wonderful woman, but she is stubborn as hell. And I will tell you, it's very difficult for me, to get her to do anything that, Chris's idea, you should do this, Ella. No way, I'm not going to even think about it. And, and I guess I'd ask you guys, look at the community at large. How can we come together and at least consider doing what I think most of us and most rational people think is the right thing, and consider a change. Consider a meeting that's going to allow Jeff to continue to be my partner and to serve this community that he spent so much time in, and that he did not for out of political ambition and running and serving, but because he really wanted to make Highland Park better. And you guys have the opportunity to preserve that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilmember Ross, I know you said you wanted to share a thought.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel the need to share that while I do appreciate that there are residents who badly want council to pass an amendment to change the liquor ordinance, either because they simply believe it should change or because they want to keep our colleague from resigning, or both, I am concerned about the vitriol towards city council members who voted against it. I was sad to hear yesterday that some of us feel physically unsafe. I can't imagine that anyone protesting the vote wants that. I voted for the amendment to change the ordinance, and my reasons for doing so remain, that I want people to have faith in elections, therefore I voted for voters. Most of the vitriol has not been directed at me, but how the anger is being expressed damages all of us, no matter how we voted. To those who are campaigning to change the ordinance, contacting me to ask me to be the third vote to put it on the agenda to redo a vote already taken by City Council won't accomplish your goal without first convincing my colleagues to change their votes. And I can't imagine how that is possible if the current approach to protest continues. If members of the public want council members to change their minds, Please consider treating them with civility and respect. I think we know that we need more of that in the world. My observation since getting elected is that everyone I serve with gives much thought and time to their actions. If elected officials wind up feeling worried about their safety, nobody will want to run for office. So this is a plea for respect and kindness. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stone?
Thank you. I appreciate the passion that many of you have shown for this issue. I've been respectful, I've listened while you've spoken, and I've read the emails that I've received. Now I want to explain my position, and I want to ask that you respect what I have to say, even if you don't agree. I believe it is improper to change any law to bring a sitting elected official into compliance with that law. The particular law at issue, which prohibits any member of the city council or any law enforcing public official from being issued a liquor license, while unknown to most of us until January, has value in that it helps avoid conflicts of interest. It is even more germane with respect to manufacturers and distributors of liquor, especially since the city is now providing sizable grants to restaurants. To those who claim that recusal is the remedy for conflicts of interest, the city's own corporation counsel has explained to us that recusal is not mandatory and is solely at the discretion of each council member. Some people have accused council members voting to maintain the law of conspiring to remove our colleague as some sort of power grab. That is definitely not true. The city discovered this provision of the law after discussion of new liquor license categories, and we're following the laws of the state of Illinois and the city of Highland Park. Changes to any law should be made only through a deliberate process and after a review which thoroughly considers the consequences and future impacts of the proposed change. In this case, there's a group of people demanding that the city council amend a law without proper review or discussion in order to bring a fellow council member into compliance. My job is to do what is best for Highland Park, and that includes our business community. I've spoken out in favor of improvements that will help our businesses and have consulted with and listened to all in our community who have shared their input and ideas with me. For many years, I've worked to make Highland Park more pedestrian and bicycle friendly, especially pertinent on this eve of Bike Month, which is good for businesses. I supported zoning changes that allow more residents to live in and near the business district and to stimulate redevelopment of properties. When new multi-unit buildings have gone in and been developed, I've advocated for EV charging and space for bicycle parking, amenities that new residents moving to Highland Park want. I led the charge to allow murals and advocated for investment in new street furniture and other improvements we are making to our downtown. We're re-landscaping Central Avenue this season. We're beautifying and upgrading the streetscape along 2nd Street. And we're repaving portions of the Central Business District. This council has worked together to make all of those things happen. Upgrading the streetscape and maintaining the roads support and attract businesses in Highland Park. I've been working for the people of Highland Park for decades, and I've served on this council for 11 years. My record shows that I'm not serving for selfish purposes, nor have I ever used my position for self-enrichment or power of any sort. I have been and remain an independent voice on the city council. When I first ran for council, I was not endorsed by Mayor Rotering or by Councilmember Bloomberg. I have always voted my conscience, and we often vote on opposing sides of issues. The members of city council are colleagues, and we all work together in a professional capacity. I'm grateful for the support I've received from residents who appreciate my following the rule of law and voting my conscience. As has been said here tonight, many of those people do not want to speak up publicly because of the vitriol that's been out there on this issue. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak and to serve my community.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloomberg?
I don't have any prepared statements. I want to simply say I do hear you. I know you know I don't agree with the majority of people in this room, but I do hear you. I'm sorry you're that angry at me. I believe many of you misperceive the reasons that I've decided as I have thus far. I've expressed my reasons publicly. The only thing that I will add to the public record is that the basis by which I legislate and make decisions has been repeatedly expressed over the last 13-plus years that I've served the city. I weigh things in a particular way, and I've expressed how I do that, and how I've done that in this situation is consistent with my past practice. Thank you for allowing me to serve. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilmember Littleworth, do you have anything to add?
I only have to say that I really am grateful to this community, not for your voting for me, but for your coming out and for your speaking your mind and for your having your independent voices. And I'm very saddened by the divide. I don't perceive it as much within our community as I have as a matter of a difference of opinion on this council. And I just would like to see us heal, and I think the way we would heal would be to have Jeff back on this council.
Thank you. Councilmember Tapia, anything to add?
Yeah, I would, we heard my comments earlier. The sentiment is still there. I would like to see City Council, us, find a way through, and as of right now, we haven't. And I still think it's an indictment on us. And I think as representatives of the people that were here have spoken, the people that wrote have spoken. You know, I hear that there's people that haven't shown up or haven't written for different reasons, even in fears of intimidation. But we're here advocating for democracy, and the people have the freedom to speak. And I take this at face value, that the volume of people against this ordinance is overwhelming publicly by the number of letters and by the number of people that were here. And in a democracy, it's who shows up. And I want to honor the voice of the people. It's the people who speak up, the people who vote, and the people have spoken. And I think we have to find a way through here because we're still divided, and we have to honor what the people want.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's reached out to us, to everyone who's talked to me on the phone, to everyone who's talked to me in person. We have heard you, but I do have a statement I'd like to share, and it's essentially what I said on February 12th, 2024. It's essential to consider the broader implications and principles guiding our legal framework. Could this law be changed to respond to the needs of an individual to address their individual situation? Yeah. I mean, literally, sure, that would be the easy thing to do. But if we change a law for a sitting council member, then what's the point of having laws? By not amending the law, we show that laws apply equally to all residents, including elected officials. And I cannot support an effort by elected officials who simply want to change the law for their personal benefit. And with that, I am seeking a motion to go into closed session.
Mayor, I move to go into closed session for purposes of discussing collective bargaining, purchase or lease of property, and pending litigation pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C 2, 5, and 11 respectively.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross. Aye. Councilmember Tapia. Aye. Councilmember Littwer. Aye. Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotary.
Aye. 6 ayes, no nays. We will go into closed session. Thank you.